Zo, lieve mensen, we zijn nu 5 minuten verder. Ik geef iedereen altijd even 5 minuten de tijd om in te settelen. Er kunnen nu nog mensen binnendruppelen, maar dat gaan we vanzelf meemaken. Ik heb Pedro al even gewaarschuwd dat ik begin in Nederlands. Dus als het goed is, kijkt hij nu niet verschrikt in de camera. Mocht er iets zijn, verbinding slecht, slecht te horen, noem maar op. Gooi het even in de chat, dan kijk ik er even naar en dan kan ik even kijken of ik nog iets kan aanpassen. En zo niet, gooi ook gezellig wat in de chat, want wij horen graag wat jullie ervan vinden. Welkom vanavond bij de tweede editie van de online WijnHALL. Mensen die vorige week niet dit hebben gezien, de WijnHALL is een evenement dat we 2 keer per jaar geven in de hal in Woerden, waar ik nu ook zit. Een lege hal. Want ja, uiteraard, we weten allemaal, we mogen niet met z'n allen bij elkaar zijn. Ja, op 1,5 meter afstand, maar dat wordt lastig als we met z'n allen wijn gaan proeven. Dus moet het even op deze manier. Vanavond gaan we de wijnen proeven van een wijnhuis uit Portugal. En met ons is Pedro uit Portugal. Pedro kan, het is net al in de chat voorbij gekomen, niet meelezen in de chat. Dus, maar je kan in de chat wel alles kwijt. Dus heb je vragen, noem maar op, gooi ze in de chat en dan probeer ik ze een beetje te bundelen. Of wellicht kan ik ze gewoon direct al in het Nederlands beantwoorden via de chat. En anders dan probeer ik ze aan Pedro te stellen. Dus schroom niet als je vragen hebt. Er zijn geen domme vragen, alleen maar leuke. Dus gooi ze in de groep en dan gaan we eens even kijken of we daar wat mee kunnen. Als het goed is, hebben jullie allemaal 6 van dit soort flesjes staan. Ik hoop dat je de witte koud gezet hebt. Als je het niet gedaan hebt, is het niet een ongelofelijke ramp. Want deze wijnen zijn ook prima te drinken op gewoon kamertemperatuur. Maar ja, het is net even iets frisser om witte wijn gekoeld te drinken. Als het goed is nogmaals, heb je die 6 flesjes voor je neus staan. En ik hoop ook iets om het in te gieten. Je mag ook uit het flesje drinken, maar dat is net niet zo handig. Die 6 flesjes gaan we vanavond proeven. Uiteraard van 1 tot en met 6. We geven eerst een kleine update over het wijnhuis zelf. Daarna dan, gaan we gewoon eventjes de wijnen doorproeven. Maar we beginnen eerst even met van, joh, wat is het nou voor wijnhuis? Waar komt het vandaan? En hoe vertalen die smaken zich? Dus ik ga zo meteen starten met het verhaal. Ik krijg ondertussen nog een belletje binnen. Ja. Ik zal eventjes gelijk een sms'je sturen. Misschien iemand die niet de chat binnenkomt. Allemaal belangrijke, lieve mensen. Ik gooi het gelijk even in de groep. Ja, huppakee. Nou, laten we hopen dat dit goed gaat komen met iemand. Afijn. Ik wil zoveel mogelijk mensen erbij hebben natuurlijk. Nogmaals, we gaan eerst eventjes een beetje kletsen over het wijnhuis. Stel erover vragen en daarna gaan we door met het proeven. Dus allereerst wil ik uiteraard Pedro even welkom heten. Pedro, hi, welkom.
Hello, Remmer.
In the WijnHALL. You've been here for a few times, but never digital.
Never digital.
Physical.
Yeah, actually, I went to the WijnHALL, I think since the first edition. But this is a first time for me as a digital WijnHALL.
Yeah.
But first of all, I want to thank you for the invite and for the opportunity to show our wines and to most of all to show Portuguese wines.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, of course. You're more than welcome, of course. Maybe some people that are watching now already know you from the WijnHALL already.
Probably.
Possible.
And probably I know some of the people that are watching right now.
I hope so. But if not, feel welcome to join us. So, like you said, we know each other for a while because you first worked for another winery. Now you work for Boas Quintas.
Yeah.
For now, I think 1.5 years, 2 years maybe, or
it will be 2 years by the end of the year. So
all right.
After harvest, it's almost 2 years.
Okay, good. So now you work for Boas Quintas, and of course, I know several things about you. I know, for example, that you're in a relationship for 10 years. I saw that on Facebook. but maybe you can tell the people that are watching something about yourself, and if you do so, maybe also tell them why you love wine and yeah, why you are working in the wine industry.
Okay, so I've been working with wine for it will be 10 years next year, but I have it was a natural thing for me because I come from a wine region in Portugal known for sparkling wines, called Bairrada. And my grandfather he was very passionate about making wine, even though he did it just as an hobby.
Yeah.
So
like a lot of people in Portugal.
Like a lot of people in Portugal, and like a lot of people in my hometown. So for me, I've been making wine in a way since I can remember. Because since I was a little kid, my grandfather, during harvest, I was helping the family. So for me, it was a natural thing to go into the wine business. So after I graduate, I started to work in a winery in my hometown. Then I traveled in Portugal, and I went for a year, I went to Australia and the US in California. And when I returned to Portugal, I started to work for a company where we met because you were already selling their wines. And like you said before, for almost 2 years now, I'm working at Boas Quintas in Down wine region. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have been doing for the past 10 years.
Like maybe, I don't know if that, I never really asked you, but did you like, was the connection made by the WijnHALL for you to switch from one winery to another winery, or
no? Actually, it was not. But sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
But the thing is that I have met people from the winery I work now at the WijnHALL. For example, Camilo, that you know pretty well.
Yeah.
I have met him for the first time at the WijnHAll.
Really?
Yeah, and now we work together. So so it was
nice.
funny. Yeah.
That's nice. And maybe I'm interested. I hope other people will be as well. But of course, here in the Netherlands, we suffer in the wine industry a bit from the COVID Corona crisis, especially, of course, in the restaurants. Can you maybe give a little bit of an update about how the Corona crisis affects the wine industry, or the winery itself?
For us, we implemented how do I say, a contingency plan to minimize the risks for ourselves, and of course, and it allowed us to never stop working. So we never closed the winery since this crisis began. But of course, we try to minimize the risks as much as we can by wearing gloves all the time, wearing protection masks all the time. We were already certified with the IFS. It's an international food standard. So for us, it didn't change in a way that much, because we have to have everything closed all the time, all the gates. So, but now, of course, we have more careful, more protection in a way when someone is delivering us the bottles or the corks or the labels. We closed the shop at the winery. We are doing some online sales, and of course, because we didn't close, we are trying to supply our customers as much as we can. And since it began, we never stopped delivering the bottles to our customers. As you know, you bought us some bottles during this time. So
yeah, definitely, and happy about that you're still supplying us with the wines from Portugal. So again, you now work for Boas Quintas, and Boas Quintas is situated in the Down region. You are already open to receive visitors already, or is it?
We were about to start this month, but we we thought about it, and we talked. Everyone talked at the company, and we decided to start next month probably.
All right. Yeah, because you see now different wineries are opening the.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have now all the measures taken to protect everyone, us or the visitors. But we thought it was the best way to do it next month. So, and I think people are still a little bit afraid to go to visit places, and not all people, but some people are still a little bit concerned about it. So,
I think you're
postponed
definitely right
another month.
Yeah. So good. So people can maybe visit within a month or a few months ago.
A
few months from now, and
and everyone is more than welcome. We at the winery, the visitors can see everything. We show the winery, the barrel room, the bottling line. So if you visit us, if you know that you can see everything.
Maybe we can do like a wine travel to Boas Quintas with people that are now watching. They can say, "All right,
you're all more than welcome."
We can go with each other. So before we go to taste the wines, it's of course very important to know where wine is from. I think that's very important to know the heritage of a wine, of a wine region, or of a wine from a winemaker. So can you tell me or tell us a bit about like Boas Quintas in the winery, and why it is that you wanted to work for this company?
I brought with me a map just so everyone can. So I'm very professional. So this is Portugal, okay, and we are located here. So this is the Down region. I'm not sure if you can see it.
Yeah, we can
well.
see it.
So
I
this
can
is.
See it. So maybe people can react if they can see it or not.
So this is the Down wine region, and we are located south. So and it varies quite a bit from south to north, even though it's in the same region. Boas Quintas, the owner and the head winemaker Nuno Cancela de Abreu, that you know very well, his family, they have been in that region for I think it's the fourth or fifth generation over there. So the family always worked with farming, animals, agriculture, forest, wine. So they were making wine more than 100 years ago. And for him, of course, it was almost a natural thing also to go into the wine business. And he's quite famous or very famous winemaker in Portugal. He worked for these big companies. He created some of the most iconic brands in Portugal. But in 1991, he decided to create his own winery, and he chose the region or where his family came. So he went back to Down, and he created his own brand or his own company, Boas Quintas. But he continued to work for these other companies. Although in 2010 he retired and decided to focus on his own company. So it was then where the company grew quite a bit. And in 2015, we built a new winery because the old winery was already small. So that's pretty much what the line in time from 91 until now.
Yeah. It's such a nice guy, you know.
Yeah.
Nice, and he's indeed pretty famous in Portugal, and I think he's one of the people who started the revolution of getting Portugal, the Portuguese wine world, the Portuguese wine industry into Europe and maybe into the world, right?
When we went to ProWine last year, he was telling me that he went for the first edition of the Pro Wine Fair in Düsseldorf.
Really?
And back then there was 7 Portuguese producers.
Yeah. Can you
So,
imagine?
so you can imagine it was 7. Now it's probably 400 or
Yeah.
something like that.
At least.
So he's been working in this industry for a very long time. He knows the wine industry very well, not only the Portuguese market, but a lot of markets. And as you know, we export 85% of our production, which is quite a lot. Of course, the Portuguese market for us it's important, but the company always focused on the export market.
Yeah.
Since the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's a good thing. So if people have questions, just leave them in the chat. We're going to discuss 2 small things,
Okay.
like the DAO region. So what's the DAO region, and a small thing about business and biodiversity, because all the wines, almost all the wines you produce or Boas Quintas produce have the business and biodiversity.
So we have this on the label.
Yeah. So can you tell us shortly about the DAO region and the label, and then we can proceed into the most important.
So the most important,
part of the tasting.
Yeah. So DAO actually was the first, the marked region in Portugal for table wines. The first marked region in Portugal, of course, it's the Douro Valley for ports. But the first marked region for table wines, red wines or white wines, actually it was DAO I think over 110 years ago.
Yeah.
It's called, some people call it the Portuguese Burgundy because of the profile and the style of the wines. I think we have now 20,000 hectares of vineyards, mainly granite soils, even though for us, because we are in the south, the type of soils are a little bit different. And a lot of some acidity in wines, a lot of complexity, a very good aging potential for the wines for this region. I think in general for Portugal, but very much for this region. And yeah, it's a very interesting place to make wine, the DAO. And
definitely.
Yeah,
especially in terms of price quality, it's very good.
I think for Portuguese wines, price quality is very good, and you know that. But for this region, even more, because for a long time it was an underrated region, so the prices went down. But now we are trying to make it better. Good. And
go with that.
Yeah. And you were asking me about business and biodiversity. So it was an European initiative launched in 2007 to promote the positive relation between the activity of the company and biodiversity in order to protect it, you know. So because for us, we work with agriculture, so we work with wine, so we need to have, it's important to have a really well balanced between a really good balance between the vineyards and biodiversity. Yeah. So we use local varieties. We have a natural pest control. We put nests on the surroundings of the vineyards for birds. We put nests for bats. We didn't succeed with bats yet, but we are trying. And in a way, almost a regulation of the natural cycles of the vineyards, you know. So what we did, or what we are doing, we are reducing the use of chemicals in the vineyards, so you will have all this in balance. Yeah. And it's very important, because what we are watching, all these changes in climate, and you can see that in the vineyards. So this year it's been a challenging year already in the vineyards, because I can give you an example. We have had that, I think, 3 times already. 2 p.m. 30 degrees Celsius, 5 minutes later, it's raining a lot. So yeah, so you have all these changes, and it's challenging, but it's an interesting thing to do.
It is. But winemaking is a challenge, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's really a challenge. It's not easy. It's definitely
No.
not easy. Good. So let me. I will turn to. I will do a small piece in Dutch.
Yeah, of course.
How they can taste the wines, and then we go on to taste the wines.
Okay.
Zo, lieve mensen, nu gaat het ware feest toch gebeuren. We moesten er even doorheen voor de liefhebbers. Die willen dan toch even weten van, joh, waar gaat het over? Waar komt het vandaan? Dan nu toch echt het wijnproeven. Nogmaals, jullie hebben 6 flesjes als het goed schat. 4 rood, 2 wit. Als je dat niet hebt, dan heb ik ze verkeerd ingepakt, denk ik. Dus geniet er dan lekker van. Wil je iets meer van wijn weten, geef ik kort even een spoedcursusje van hoe proef je nou wijn? Hoe kan je iets meer van wijn te weten komen? Nou, dat is stap 1 daarvan is kijken naar de kleur. We kunnen zo bij die rode wijn iets meer gaan kijken naar de kleur. De witte wijn lijken allebei wel redelijk op elkaar. Zijn allebei ook qua leeftijd net zo oud. Maar bij witte wijn kan de kleur verschillen van heel transparant, dat je er nagenoeg doorheen kan kijken, tot heel donker koorgeel. Het zegt niks over de kwaliteit, het zegt eigenlijk iets over 2 dingen. Dat is de leeftijd van de wijn en eventueel druivenras. Dus ja, hier kunnen we uren naar gaan kijken, maar ik denk van ja, je ziet dat dit witte wijn is, hè? Dat is eigenlijk het belangrijkste. Relatief licht qua kleur, misschien een beetje groenachtig in de rand. Dan ga je naar de volgende stap en de volgende 2 stappen gaan over de geur. Geur is uitermate belangrijk bij wijn, dus wil je meer van wijn leren, dan moet je ook gewoon meer gaan ruiken en ervoor openstaan dat je al die geuren die je in het leven tegenkomt, kan terugvinden in die wijn. Dus doe dat. Als je lekker aan het koken bent, noem maar op. Ruik eens een keer aan die groene paprika en aan die rode paprika. En ga eens even kijken van, joh, hoe kom ik die geuren dan tot z'n recht in de wijn? En wanneer kan ik die geuren tegenkomen? En dan zal je merken dat je die groene paprika, die kom je in zowel jonge rode wijnen tegen, maar ook wel in bijvoorbeeld hele stuivende, frisse, witte Sauvignon Blancs. Dus openstaan voor allemaal geuren is heel belangrijk. Nou ja, ruiken doen we eigenlijk op 2 momenten. En 1 is dat je gewoon ruikt in je glas, zonder dat je walst. En dan denk je misschien, ja, wat is walsen? Ja, je weet wat walsen is, maar dat zal waarschijnlijk dansen zijn. Maar ruiken in je glas zonder dat je walst is ruiken gewoon in je glas. Dus ik zou zeggen, nou, ruik even in je glas. Begin bij flesje nummer 1. Dat is de Encosta da Vigna. Ruik even in je glas. Dan ruik je waarschijnlijk al wat. Dat doe je om te kijken van, hey, zit er geur aan de wijn? Als dat er niet aan zit, dan kan het zijn dat die wijn wat lucht nodig heeft. De volgende stap is ruiken naar walsen. Dus je walst je glas, je walst de wijn. Dat kan linksom, dat kan rechtsom, daar haalt niet zo heel veel uit. Het gaat om dat de beweging in je glas komt en dat de wijn in je glas blijft. Dat is ook niet onbelangrijk. Hè? Dat is ook, let ook even op die flesjes, hè? Want ik heb de flesjes echt tot de nok vol gedaan. Dus sorry, maar daar is een reden voor. Want die wijn willen we zo vol mogelijk geven, zodat er zo min mogelijk risico op oxidatie bestaat. Dus vandaar, we doen het niet om jullie te pesten, maar om die wijn in de allerbeste conditie bij jullie te krijgen. En nogmaals, als je walst en je ruikt nu weer, ruik je als het goed is meer dan de eerste keer. Dus na het walsen ruik je als het goed is meer dan de eerste keer. Dan komt het mooie moment, het moment waar jullie allemaal op gewacht hebben vanavond, het proeven. Je neemt een slok van die wijn en die proeven bestaat ook eigenlijk een beetje uit 3 onderdelen. 1 is de aanzet. 2 is de ontwikkeling. Je mond is wat warmer dan wat er in je glas zit, dus als het goed is komen er wat smaken vrij. Je mag dan ook slurpen, hè? Dus dat je slurpt, ja, doe je dit, maar dan in de mond. En daardoor krijg je door de neusholte ook weer allemaal geuren komen er weer terug naar boven. En dan heb je de afdronk. En de afdronk, ja, daar worden boeken van volgeschreven. De afdronk is, proef je nog wat als je die wijn hebt uitgespuugd of doorgeslikt? En wat proef je dan? En dat kan ook een gevoel zijn. Hè? Kan dat je mond helemaal droog trekt of wellicht dat je een beetje vettig gevoel krijgt in je mond of je speekselklieren die helemaal op hol slaan. Allemaal onderdeel van afdronk. En als dat heel lang duurt, ja, dan spreek je gewoon simpelweg van een lange afdronk. Is dat kort, dan is het een korte afdronk. En een korte afdronk is soms best plezierig. Want bij bepaalde wijnen, die hoef je echt niet nog 10 minuten in je mond te hebben, ronddansen, als je gewoon lekker op een zonnig terras zit. Dus kort even een spoedcursus, hoe proef je wijn? Dus ik zou zeggen, ik ga even terug naar Pedro zometeen. Schenk jullie lekker glaasje 1 in. We proberen wat pauzes in te bouwen nu en dan. Nogmaals, als je vragen hebt, gooi ze in die chat. Echt belangrijk. Ik zie hier een vraag van Michiel over of je die wijnen wat adem moet geven. Belangrijk is dat je de glazen, als je zo meteen die rode wijn gaat uitschenken, niet te vol doet. Dus pak een klein laagje, want dan geef je eigenlijk die wijn al aardig wat lucht. En als je dan ook nog wat hoger inschenkt, dat is wel weer een uitdaging om hoog in te schenken. Als je wat hoger inschenkt, dan heeft hij eigenlijk al wel lucht genoeg. En mocht hij dan alsnog te weinig, dan kan je altijd nog walsen, waardoor je nog meer die luchtstroom bevordert. Dus bedankt voor de vraag. Dus ik ga zo terug naar Pedro. Dan beginnen we bij glas nummer 1. We gaan daar een beetje in op druivenrassen, waar de wijnen van gemaakt worden en dergelijke. En wat voor smaak we erin terug kunnen vinden. Dus ik hoop dat er hier voldoende informatie bij zit om wijnen te proeven. Nogmaals, in de chat vragen stellen. So Pedro, I gave them a really short course in how to taste the wine. So it's the least I can do for people to enjoy your wine to the fullest. So I hope and I think everybody has bottle number 1 in their glass, and it's in Costa da Vinha Branco. So I have the bottle. I think you have the bottle as well. Yeah, that's the so maybe you can tell the audience something about the grape varieties, vinification, so how the wine is made, and what kind of taste you can get from this wine.
Okay, so in Costa da Vinha, it's a blend with 3 Portuguese varieties. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's Encruzado, Malvasia, and Fernão Pires. Of course, Encruzado, it's probably the most famous variety in this region. With this wine, the idea with this wine is to make it simple in a way. So the vinification of this wine, we harvest the grapes by hand. We don't use machines. We put it into boxes, 20 kilos boxes. So we don't squeeze them when we are picking them. And the idea, if you squeeze them, you start fermentation in the vineyard. And we want to start the fermentation at the winery where we can control it. So what we do with this wine, we press these 3 varieties, and then we put the juice into stainless steel. We don't use oak barrels in this wine, and only stainless steel with controlled temperature during fermentation. So we ferment this wine around 14 degrees Celsius. And the reason we do it is that if you don't control temperature, of course, controlled temperature is quite a recent technology, and we have been making wines for 300 years. But the idea here, if you don't control the temperature during fermentation, you are transforming sugar into alcohol, so you are consuming oxygen and releasing CO2. If the temperature is too high, the release of the CO2 is too fast, and it will drag the aromas. And with a young and fresh and fruity white wine, you don't want to lose the aromas. That's why we control the temperature, and that's why you have a very aromatic wine, very young, very fresh, and in a way, very easy to drink. So what we do here is to keep that profile of wine, and then to be enjoyed in a light way. Yeah. So
it's a very young and fruity, easygoing wine.
That's the idea. That's we are bottling at the beginning of the year after every harvest. So for this type of wine, usually you don't want a wine quite old. So it's the idea, for example, to go with food is as a starter or with a very light fish or a salad. So because at the same time, it doesn't have the structure to go with a very heavy meat. And that's not the idea, to have structure. It's just to be simple in a way, but at the same time, you have the acidity natural of this region, and you get a quite enjoyable wine in a way.
Yeah, really good. And it has such a, it's a little bit of floral, but it also has like a lot of
very,
tropical fruit.
And it's quite mineral, quite citric because of some of the varieties that we use. Like I was saying, you have this acidity and this freshness when you drink it.
Yep, really good. If people in the chat have any smells that they or anything that they think, all right, I really think this wine smells like this or like that, we are always eager to hear. You know, it's always
of course,
nice
because
somebody.
The perception of a wine, it's always about what you know in your background and what you have tasted before, what you have smelled before. If I never smelled in my life a pineapple, I will never know that this wine smells like a pineapple. So,
no.
So I'm very interested to hear all about these aromas and flavors.
Yeah. Maybe we have some typical Dutch flavors that you never heard of.
Yeah.
So, so this wine, so wine number 1 is made of Engrosado, Malvasia fina, and
Fernão Pires. Yeah. So, and the idea with this wine usually is to lower the temperature a little bit. I would say between 8 and 10, 80 degrees Celsius or 10. Quite cold, but not that cold, of course, otherwise you will hide all the aromas and flavors. But between 8 and 10, because, for example, the next wine that we will taste, it will be at a different temperature. I would say at a different temperature because of the type of wine and the profile of wine. So this wine, I would say between 8 and 10. So quite cold.
But not too cold.
Not too cold.
Yeah, definitely not too cold.
Yeah.
Don't drink at 6 degrees. It's definitely too cold. Okay, good. We go on to the next wine. I will tell shortly in Dutch a little bit about barrel fermentation. So I don't say anything about the barrel fermentation in this wine in particular, so you can explain that. But to maybe people don't know what this means, barrel fermentation. So I will say in Dutch a little bit about the principle of barrel fermentation.
Okay.
Dus de eerste wijn die we geproefd hebben is 100% gemaakt in RVS. Dus zijn grote RVS-vaten van wel 100.000 liter waar die wijn in zit. De volgende witte wijn, ik zou zeggen schenk daar een klein beetje van in. Dus dat is nummertje 2, dat is de Engrosado. Ik zal zo het druivenras nog even toelichten en ook wat over vragen aan Pedro. Maar de volgende witte wijn heeft een hele andere geur en toch wel een hele andere smaakbeleving dan glas nummer 1. En dat komt voornamelijk, 1 door druivenras, maar voornamelijk doordat deze wijn opgevoed is op houten vaten. Ik heb eerder al gezegd dat er zit qua opvoeding vrij weinig bij. De mensen die kinderen hebben, die weten dat opvoeding vrij pittig is. Nou, er wordt hier qua opvoeding er hoeft niet heel veel werk te verricht te worden om die wijn in het vat te krijgen. Maar een eikenhouten vat kost een hoop geld, want het is 100% eiken. Dat kan eiken zijn van allemaal verschillende, van verschillende landen. Dus je kan Frans eiken hebben, je kan Amerikaans eiken hebben, Portugees eiken. Elke eikensoort heeft zijn eigen eigenschappen, dus qua smaak, maar ook qua structuur. En qua poriën, dus het aantal oxidatie wat hij heeft. En als je een kuiper zo'n vat maakt hij het vat helemaal mooi dicht met verschillende duigen. Hij zet dat vat over een vuurtje heen en maakt dat vat nat. En dat vuurtje kan kort aanstaan en kan ook heel lang aanstaan. En hoe langer dat vuurtje aanstaat, hoe gerookter dat eiken aan de binnenzijde wordt. Dus dan weet je een beetje van, joh, hoe gaat dat dan in zo'n vat? Witte wijn fermenteert vaak ook alcoholisch in een vat. Ik denk dat Pedro er zo meteen ook wat over gaat vertellen. de gistcellen sterven af en die zakken naar de bodem. Dus in zo'n vat, de gistcellen die maken alcohol, zakken naar de bodem, maar die gistcellen die geven een lekkere, gegist, broodachtige smaak. Dus je wil die gistcellen zoveel mogelijk een beetje in die wijn hebben. Wat je dan doet, is dat je met een stok, een Frans bâton, ga je in het vat en ga je die gistcellen een beetje doorheen roeren. En dat heet bâtonnage. Dus doordat je gistcellen er doorheen roert, krijgt die wijn iets meer smaak van dat lekkere gist. Dus deze wijn heeft een heel ander profiel. Nou ja, geuren, smaken die tegenkomen is een beetje, misschien een sigarenkistje, wat grenenhout, potlood. Kan van alles nog wat zijn. Nogmaals, als je iets hebt, gooi het in de chat. Maar dat is wijn op houtopvoeding. Dus Pedro zal er wat zo meteen ook over vertellen, maar dan heb je in ieder geval in het Nederlands even kort en bondig een introductie. So Pedro, I just try to explain a small thing about barrel fermentation. Maybe you even understand some of the words.
Like bâtonnage, for example.
Bâtonnage. It's a typical Dutch word, bâtonnage. So the previous wine was with the grape varieties Engrosado, Mavasavina, and Fernão Pires, and this wine is made of 100% Engrosado. And the people who don't know it, Engrosado is, you don't see Engrosado anywhere else in the world, but you also even don't see Engrosado anywhere else in Portugal. It's a typical indigenous grape variety of the Dow region. And in my opinion, it's always like a little bit of a Chardonnay of Portugal, or maybe Chardonnay of the Dow. It has aging potential. It has very good potential in ripening in wood with barrel fermentation. So a very interesting grape, and people that don't know the grape, I hope and I think and I know that you will like this profile of this wine, this Engrosado. So Pedro, can you tell me something about how you make the wine and taste like that and the profile?
Yeah, so that's our special reserve, 100% Engrosado, and like you were saying, you don't see it that much outside the region. Some wineries in different regions have Engrosado, but mainly only in this region, down. So typical from that area, and you can make these amazing white wines with this variety. And like you were saying, the aging potential of this wine, it's incredible. And what we do here, we select our best Engrosado from Fonte do Ouro estate. That's why the name of this wine is Fonte do Ouro. That stands for Fountain of Gold. And we select the best Engrosado. And what we do here, after we handpick the grapes, we do a gentle press. And then we leave it for 1 day in stainless steel, and then we put it before fermentation inside the barrels. So it means that fermentation will occur inside the barrels. And after fermentation, we top the barrels with the same wine, of course, and we leave it aging in barrel for around 6 months. And during that time, we make bâtonnage, which means we are mixing the heavy lees on the bottom with the wine, and it will allow the wine to get more structure, more fattiness. At the same time, these heavy lees that are mainly, how do you say in English? Let me think. I will remember the word. And at the same time, it's when you are mixing the heavy lees, it's protecting the wine. Yeah. So you don't need to use that much sulfur, for example, to protect the wine. And you will have this completely different profile from the previous wine. So you get this citric, tropical fruit on the nose. Of course, you have the oak character because it fermented and stayed in barrels for 6 months. But when you taste it, you have this fattiness, this structure. You have the acidity. You don't get the acidity that much, but I can tell you the acidity is there, but because of the structure that the wine gets, it's hidden in a way. So you get this really well balanced wine in between structure, alcohol, because this wine is usually 13, actually the 18 vintage is 13.5 alcohol. So it's a variety that you can have alcohol a little bit higher than some white wines. And you have this incredible balance in between all the components of the wine. So, and like I was saying, it's a wine that can age for a very, very long time. I have tasted this wine with 15 vintage, 14 vintage, previous vintages, and I put it inside the glass and the color remains the same. The freshness, the acidity is there. And at a blind tasting, I can tell you that most people cannot say that that's a wine with 5 years, 6 years or more. No. At a blind tasting, it's very hard because this wine remains young in a way for a very long time.
Yeah.
And that's why it's amazing, this variety to make these beautiful white wines.
Yeah, it has such an aging potential. I see in the live chat somebody say, indeed, it's a bit like Chardonnay. In my opinion, it is a bit like Chardonnay, but it has more of a floral, citric character than
a Chardonnay. Yeah, of course, it's most, especially if you think of New World winemaking, you think of Chardonnay aged and fermented in barrels. So it's the same technique, but with a completely different variety. And
because of the acidity and freshness, the wine will not age that quick as a lot of Chardonnay
of course
with the same profile will.
So for example, at this estate, and of course for all the Fonte do Ouro wines, at this estate we have a granite soil, poor in nutrients, which is, if you think, okay, it's poor in nutrients, it's bad for the grapes, but no, it's good because they will develop very good, and you will have a really well balanced bunch, and of course the natural acidity is there, the complexity is already there, and the minerality and the citric aromas and flavors are already there. So that's why you will have all these different good things to help you age your wine.
Yeah, it's an amazing wine that can pair with a lot of different dishes. Really good.
Yeah.
I have a question in the chat. It's a 2018 vintage. This wine.
18.
18.
It's the 18, so it's the current released on the market.
Yeah.
We still didn't bottle the 19. And we will soon. But and every year for this wine, every year we buy new barrels. So the wine is fermented in new barrels, French oak barrels, and we buy them every year. And for the next year, we will use it wash them, of course, and then use it for red wines.
Yeah.
And buy new barrels. So, for example, in 1 month or 2, we will get new barrels for the 2020 vintage. It's been like that for a very long time. The philosophy for this wine is to buy new barrels every year and use it specifically for this wine, and then use it for reds, or second year for another white, for example. But for this Encruzado, always French oak barrels, new barrels.
New, yeah.
At least so far. So.
At least this vintage and the next will be, but we cannot predict the future. We didn't saw Corona coming as well, so it's let's see what happens. So we did the 2 white wines. Just to give a small update about the portfolio. Boas Quintas, for the viewers online, Boas Quintas has a very great range of different wines. we choose to do like these wines, but there are some other white wines in their portfolio as well.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in tasting more wines,
Yeah.
keep me posted, and I will give you an update of all the wines that they have. So these were the white wines. So we are going now to the reds, and we start with the Encosta de Vinha. So it's the red variety. Yeah, your camera is much better than my camera. Yeah. Yeah. Also with a nice bird, right? And the bird is also because of the Business Biodiversity, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
like the Gambia wines that you know.
Yeah.
We have all these birds on the labels.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Women like birds. I told the previous tasting that I found out that I have like, I think maybe around 9 to 10 labels from different wineries in Portugal that have birds on the label.
Probably.
I think there's a marketing guru in Portugal saying you must have a bird on your label.
And he makes all these different labels for all these different companies.
Let me do a small piece in Dutch and then we can go to the reds. Zo, wit afgesloten mensen, we gaan nu over naar de rood. Zoals ik net al uitlegde, dit is even een keus, 4 rood, omdat deze 4 rode wijnen echt wat gaafs hebben. Vind ik althans. De eerste rood Encosta de Vinha. Nou, bij rode wijn, qua kleur, moet je iets meer op de rand letten. Dus in de rand van de wijn. Dus als je de wijn schuin houdt, dan kan je in de rand kijken en dan zie je waar die kleur nou een beetje uit opgebouwd is. Gebruik ook even een witte ondergrond, dus een wit papiertje of iets. Houd het glas erboven en kijk er doorheen. En dan kan je aan de rand zien wat voor een kleur die wijn heeft. En aan die rand kan je ook zien of het een wat jongere wijn is of een wat oudere wijn. Oudere wijnen worden vaak wat bruiner in de rand. Jongere wijnen zijn heel wat feller in de rand. Dus leuk om daar een beetje naar te kijken. Dus ik kan zeggen, schenk de Encosta da Vinha 10 toe in. En dan gaan we weer door met het ritje waar we mee begonnen zijn. So Pedro, I explained a little bit more about the color of red wine. So the Encosta da Vinha 10 toe. Again, same question. Can you tell us a little bit more about the grape varieties, the flavors of the wine, and how it's made?
So for this wine, Encosta da Vinha, we use Touriga Nacional, Jayan, and Trincadeira, which is sometimes hard to pronounce.
Yeah.
So, and what we do with this wine, I mean, it's the brother of the white wine, so we try to make it in the same, with the same profile. We want to keep the freshness and the fruit character on the aroma when you taste it. So I said before, we handpick all the wines. So with the reds, of course, we don't press it right away. So we pump the juice to the winery with the skins, and we ferment the red wines with the skins. So because that's where the color is, and tannins and acidity and some other stuff. So what we do here, we ferment in stainless steel also, and also with controlled temperature. For our reds, or for these reds, we usually ferment with around 26 degrees, our controlled temperature in tanks. So because we want to keep that freshness and that fruit character. So even though after fermentation and after malolactic fermentation, we put it in oak barrels for only 3 months. And the idea here, it's not to get the oak character, but to do micro-oxygenation, which means you put it in barrels. Of course, you have oxygen going into the barrel, of course, through the oak. So that's why we call it micro-oxygenation, because it's not completely closed. And doing micro-oxygenation for this small period, you will get the color, the tannins, the acidity, they will get in a way more connected. So the idea here is to make it, to put it only for that time, to make it a more easygoing red wine. Okay, so you will get this red fruit on the nose, fresh red fruit. You cannot, in my opinion, get the oak character at all in this wine, only the fruit character, and really smooth tannins, really light tannins, low acidity, and a really smooth wine. So, and the idea for this wine is to have it after you get home from work, or to have it with a light dish, pasta or white meat.
Yeah, you can really combine it with white meat.
Yeah, because it's quite fresh at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's the 2017 vintage, and like the white, you don't want, most of the people don't want this type of red wine with a lot of age. So
no.
For the others that we will try after, you can. I like them with aging, after aging in bottle. So
no, you should enjoy this wine just as it is.
Yeah, as it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's 2017. I get some people to say that it has a little bit of a lactose, dairy, milky
flavor. Okay.
cheesy kind of flavor in the nose, and I agree. It has a little bit of those yogurts kind of maybe yogurt candy kind of smell in the nose. And it's a very good wine. It has complexity, it has body, but it's not that up in your face.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. You want you have that, but at the same time, really in a smooth way. So, and that's the idea with this wine.
I know even a wine like this has some aging potential. There's a question about a question from Leo who asked, like, all right, what's the aging potential of a wine like this? And I know it's not made for aging, but I think a wine like this can age for definitely for 5 years. I don't know what's your opinion about that?
Yeah. Maybe, because it's not made for aging, but all of these wines have aging potential. I said it at the beginning. All this region can make wines for aging. So even though it's not made that way, for sure 5 years, because it has the structure, the tannins, the alcohol, the acidity that help you age wines, but at the same time made for people to enjoy it after releasing the wines, you know.
Yeah. Good. Just a glass of red wine as you want it. It's easygoing. It's like
you arrive home from work and you pour a glass and you enjoy it.
And again, this wine for the viewers is also made by the Business and Biodiversity, so it's made
all of
in a very good way, hand-picked grapes. So, and that for a fair price, it's an interesting, definitely an interesting wine. So good. So we have still 3 red wines left. I hope everybody still has 3 red wines left. So at number 4, 4 and 5 was a little bit of a decision. All right, what would we do first?
Let's see if we didn't talk to each other about it. Let's see if we made the same decision.
I hope I made a good decision.
If we didn't, I say we made the same.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So my decision fell on 4, using the more fruity, global tasting wine, more easygoing, and then at 5 get a more rustic wine, and then at 6 getting just a very strong wine. And I hope that this will work out. But hey, it's wine, and we will see how it goes. So 4 is Fonte Douro Tinto. So it's I think I have the bottle here. Yeah, you have the same. Yeah, it's Fonte Douro Tinto. We both had like the medals. Yeah, we got some medals in
So
Portugal.
actually, we have made the same decision. So
yeah, that's a good thing. So again, beautiful label, beautiful bottle, but also a very beautiful wine, in my opinion. It's also 2017 vintage, the Fonte Douro. And let me get a small bottle.
So the one of the differences is that the blend is Touriga Nacional, Alfrocheiro, and Jayan, which are very typical varieties from this region. And I would say not Touriga Nacional, but Alfrocheiro and Jayan, very common in that region. Outside the region, you will have some, especially Alfrocheiro, Jayan, I'm not sure. It's a very typical variety for that region. In Fonte Douro, it's a red wine made pretty much the same way of the Encosta da Vinha, but a little bit longer in maceration, which means skin contact. To already, during fermentation, we are extracting already more tannins, getting more structure, because then we will put it into oak barrels for longer. So this wine will stay for 6 months in oak barrels, and after that we will bottle it. And the idea with this wine, and I think you will get there, here you already have red fruit, black fruit, a little bit more structure, but at the same time quite fresh.
Yeah, it's very, very good wine, and it has very good structure.
Maybe, but if you taste it, you already see it's more in everything than the previous wine. And that's what we want to do with this wine. And I would say for this is our entry level for the Fonte Douro brand, but for me it's a very, very interesting wine. And even though it's an entry level, I don't like to call them entry level. It's the first wine for Fonte Douro. So I think it's a very interesting wine, and the temperature here, it's also very important. We talked about temperature in white wines, but it's also very important for the reds. And I think in Portugal we still have a long way to go in temperature, regarding temperature in wines, because we like the white wines, or usually we like the white wines quite fresh, and the red wines room temperature. But room temperature for some wines, it can be too much. So I would say 16, 18 degrees Celsius, because with that temperature you will get these fruit aromas, freshness, and you won't get too much when you taste it. So, but I would say for this wine, we need to go up a little bit in regarding the dishes. So I would say already red meat, because you have the tannins, you have the acidity, and
it has such a wide profile of different flavors. So if you not to be a bit corny, but every time when you smell and you have like you give the wine some air, you have some different layers.
It's and especially on the Reserva that we will taste later. If you let it stay in your glass for a while, or you drink one glass and then pour another glass, you will see that it's evolving during the time that you are tasting. And and again on this red, the idea with the barrel use, it's the same, micro oxygenation, getting all pieces in place and connecting all these different things in wine. And I think in the end we have an excellent result for this red wine.
Yeah, really good. Just a small second. So people had some time to enjoy the wine.
I hope so.
I hope so. Yeah. Just to give you a small update, a lot of people like this wine in the chat, so in the live chat. So a lot of people enjoy this Fonte d'Oro Tinto. And again, it's also a very fair price. We sell this wine at €9.95 at the shop, and I mean it's. In the world of wine, you find a lot of delicious wines, but it's always a quest to find a wine that is made proper, made well, like the Business Biodiversity label, and tastes really good and has a reasonable price as well. So that's always the challenge of searching for a good glass of wine. So if there are more questions about these wine, just keep them going. Again, maybe if you have different or several glasses, keep some of this wine in your glass because it will evolve, and it's maybe nice to taste a small amount of this wine next to the other two.
To see the difference.
Yeah, because you're going to taste two wines that are totally different from the other wines. And the age, I don't know if I already said, but it's also a 2017. So this,
you said
in terms
it,
of aging potential, has you can easily.
And for I don't have it anymore in my glass, but if you see, for example, the color, it's 3 years old already, but it's really dark color still. So it's a common thing in Portuguese wines. We like them that way, and we make them that way because Portuguese wines usually they have really dark color. That's why sometimes, for example, it's hard to sell Pinot Noir in Portugal. Because we like the wines with dark color, but we don't make it on purpose. Usually our varieties, local varieties, they have more color. So if you do a longer fermentation, more extraction, so you will get this type of wine. But just to tell you that if you see the color, it's not aged at all in 3 years. So that's one of the things that you will look when you are seeing the aging potential. And then when you taste it, of course, you can see that it's still young and it can age for a lot of time.
Still fresh, and it's insanely good glass of wine. And I didn't mention, but there's one grape variety in this blend that we also know in Spain as Mencia, right? It's they know the grape variety in Spain. You have a grape variety. It's called Mencia. Blue grape.
It's like for example, Tinta Roriz that we also have. It's called Tempranillo. So you have these different names, but it's the same variety. Even in Portugal, if you go to another region in Portugal, we have different names for some varieties.
And here the Mencia is the
Jayen.
It's the Jayen. So people, I can imagine people don't know the name Jayen. It's maybe have ever heard of Mencia. Don't know it. It's not very common here in the Netherlands, but it's the same grape variety, but different regions.
So that's Jayen. It's very common in the down wine region. So we use it for. We don't have a monovarietal for that variety, but we use it for some of our blends.
I think it's good to add at the blend to give structure to the wine. So it's maybe you can do a monovarietal, maybe a wine of only made of the grape.
No, actually we did with another brand that we have, Opta. We did for the very first time 100% Alfrucheiro. But it's Alfrucheiro, it's a variety. It can be hard to work with Alfrucheiro because you have these amazing years, and then you have years that you don't get anything good out of it. So for the very first time we did it, because what we do at the winery, I didn't say that, but what we do at the winery, we do the vinification of all the varieties separately. So we separate the varieties in tanks during fermentation, and we separate the varieties in oak barrels during the aging process in barrels. So we only make the blends after the aging process in stainless steel or oak barrels. And that gives us the opportunity to make a single variety when we have an excellent year, like we did it with Alfrucheiro in 2007, the 2017 that we bottled in 2019. So all of these blends that you see, all of the varieties that you see here in our blends, we only make the blends after, so or before bottling.
Then you can make the best blends.
The best decisions, because, for example, the Touriga Nacional can go to the Fonte do Ouro, or the Touriga Nacional can go to our single variety, or it can go to our Grande Reserva. So it depends, and that makes it easier for us in a way.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, and I think a lot of wineries do that. You know, first fermentate the grapes separately, and then after that, like a painter does, just add a little bit of this, add a little bit of that, and try, all right, this tastes good, this doesn't, and then make the final blend in the glass. Yeah. So we can proceed. Still, if there are any more questions about Fonte do Ouro, the Tinto, the normal Tinto, leave them in the comments. Keep a little bit of this wine in your glass to compare with the next wine. The next wine is called Wisdom Tree. And I think I first tasted this wine last year or the year before. I don't know, last year. And it's made of one grape. And that's something special because most of the red wines are blends. So again, it's Wisdom Tree. Pedro already showed the label. I will show it a little bit again, because if you're still looking for something for Father's Day this Sunday, look at this label, guys. Look at this label. I can imagine this is something that you can give to your dad, you know. Wisdom Tree, thank you for all the wisdom.
And I can tell you, if you like, I can tell you the story of that label.
Yeah, tell. Enlighten us first with the story of the label.
So this tree, it's actually a tree that still exists at the family house of Nuno Casala de Abreu, because they still own this really big old house close to the winery in the same town. And the tree is still there. And actually, that tree has this small bench that Nuno's grandfather used to sit, and he tells this story many times, because when he was a kid, he used to sit with his grandfather on that bench, and he was telling him stories about the family business and agriculture and winemaking. And he says that it's where he fell in love with winemaking, and where he decided to make wine. That's why we did it so much, and made on the label we put the tree with both of them.
Really good label, and a really good story behind it. So it's that's a very
and it's a true story. So
that's maybe we can go all together on a wine travel to Portugal.
Yeah, and you will see the tree, because it's still there.
And make a picture before the bench drinking wine. So I hope everybody pours a little bit of wisdom tree in their glass, so we can, yeah, find out what kind of wisdom this wine will give us. So again, Pedro, it's made of Tourico Nacional, and a lot of people don't know. I think a lot of people don't know the grape variety Tourico Nacional. I do, and I love it. It's indigenous to Portugal, and a lot of people know it from the Douro Valley. If you're liking port, if you're into port, you definitely tasted Tourico Nacional, because it's almost in every port you will taste. It has very low yields, and the home region of the Tourico Nacional is in fact not the Douro but the Douro region.
Oh, yeah.
So, Pedro, give us a little bit of an information about the wine, about the profile. We know about the label and about the vinification.
Yeah. So you said pretty much of the variety. It's probably the most recognized Portuguese variety, planted all over Portugal. Planted outside Portugal, you can find it in the US, you can find it in Australia. I think now they in France they are planting already Touriga Nacional, because it's well adapted to these soils, to these different soils, different types, different temperature. So in France now they allowed the plantation of Touriga Nacional. So probably we will see some Burgundy wines or Rhone wines with Touriga Nacional. I'm not sure.
Really, do you think? French people will use a Portuguese grape variety.
Or probably they will plant it, but they won't put it on the label. No? I don't know. You can ask Thibaut. You can ask Thibaut next week.
I will ask next week. I will have like a French winemaker here in the WijnHALL tasting. So let's ask him and put him to the test if he will ever plant a Tourico Nacional. No, and again, you know Pedro, you know Thibaut pretty well as well. So it's a friendly test. It's a friendly.
Yeah, it's a friendly. And Touriga Nacional, like I was saying, it's planted all over Portugal, and in this region, we say here it's originally from this region. So, and you can have these amazing wines that you can make blends, you can make as a single variety. You have these great tannins, great acidity. It's a wine that you can age for a very long time. Red fruit on the nose. Dark fruit on the nose. Really ripe dark fruit, and with this wine, I think you can keep it. This wine ages also for 6 months in used barrels. We don't use any new barrels for this wine. We use new barrels for some other red wines. But here, I think the oak character is really well balanced, and for this wine, I would say the temperature in 18 degrees and to go with food. I won't say like in Costa da Vinha to drink it alone. I would say to go with food, red meat or meat in the oven. So because it has the structure to go with it.
Yeah, it's in my opinion, typical Touriga, because it's spicy. It has a spicy note in it.
I was about to say that you have the color. The typical color is dark red with a violet surrounding, and you have that spiciness. And in our wines, you have this forest character in a way. Pine trees, resin. So you have this character in most of our red wines because of the region where we are. For the wisdom tree, it's a different estate for the Touriga Nacional than the Fonte do Ouro. And we have clay soils, which is not very common in the down region. It's common because, like I was saying when we started, when I showed the map, we are in the south of the region, so we are here. So it's in the border with Bairrada, so we have transition soils. We have clay soils here, so we get they get a lot of water, and especially at our estate we have this fog during the mornings because we have a dam nearby, but then the temperature goes up really fast. So in our region we have this big difference in temperature. So you can arrive at the winery in the morning quite cold, but in the afternoon is 30 something degrees Celsius. So you have this big difference in temperature, and it gives a really interesting character to the wines.
Yeah.
But in most of our wines, and you know them very well, you have this forest character, or pine trees, eucalyptus. So we have this surrounding. It's very common in our, where we have the winery and the estate. We have pine trees, eucalyptus, and the wines get that character, which make them very interesting and very different in a way. So
yeah,
and you get this spicy nose, and I really enjoyed this wisdom tree. It's a very interesting wine.
It's the first time I smelled it. It was like, I think it was on Pro Wine in Germany, and it was like,
yeah, we were showing for the first time the wisdom tree at Pro Wine last year, and you fell in love with the wine.
Yeah,
I will just pour a little bit more.
Yeah, you should. It's rustic, and that's it has like normal. A lot of Touriga Nacionals are very are more spiciness and with violets and menthol eucalyptics, and it has a little bit of the same profile, but it's rustic. It's earthy. Yeah. It's it's a little bit of a barn, earthy, rustic feeling of it. And it's exactly in line, in my opinion, with the label. It's like a movie. The flavors of the wine, the label. It
tells the story, but then when you taste it, the story goes on. And this is a wine that stays for a very long time. I keep talking, and I still can feel the wine. So it has a really long finish. And I keep saying. I keep saying, you have the acidity, you have the tannins, but it's true. You have all these, you have these two things all the time, but in a very smooth way. And because usually when you say acidity and tannins, people are like, okay, so probably they are not good. But I say this all the time with all of the wines because they are really that's the cool thing about this region. You have that. But you have that in a very good way, and you have these beautiful wines that can age for a very long time, but that you can drink them. But you can drink them after a year or two. But if you drink them after 10 years, still good. So that's the amazing thing of these wines.
Yeah, it is.
And I think Portuguese wines in general, they have this really aging potential, really big. Aging potential.
Yeah, it has a big difference, in my opinion, between regions and style. So if people want to know more about Portuguese wines and aging potential, just give me a heads up, and I will inform you gladly. I ask, like Pedro, I ask in the chat. All right, come on, vote, you guys. Which one did you like more? Number 4 or 5, so the wisdom tree or the Fonte do Ouro. And I think we are about to go 50-50 in terms of what people like. I have the same opinion. It are two different wines, but they both have something very interesting and something really special.
Yeah. But, I really enjoy the wisdom tree, even though I'm a huge fan of the Fonte do Ouro range in general. But I think the wisdom tree, you have this, you can see and taste what a good Touriga Nacional is made of. So mainly we used to be a country of blends. So, and we have a lot of wines made out of blends, but then you have these great varieties that you can use as a single variety and make really cool wines. So
I have also a question about from France, and he asked, like, all right, what's the do you still have older wisdom trees and older vintages of this?
no, France from
the Hull, yeah.
France.
So he tries to get like an older vintage, but
no. Actually,
you bottled it, right?
Yeah. So actually, that was the first edition of the Wisdom Tree.
Yeah. And it's. I think this is a wine. Again, in terms of pricing, I think we sell it at $11.95 or something like that. This is a wine that you can, like, in terms of value, you can easily buy a case of 6 bottles and just lay some of these bottles in
to
your
rest.
cellar.
Yeah.
Just see how it goes. 2 years, 3 years, open a bottle once in a while, and maybe in 5 years, 6 years from now, on Christmas, you're opening a bottle of wine of only like 11, 12 euros, and you're getting an amazing bottle of wine ripened by yourself. And that's what makes wines like this very interesting. It has the potential.
Just to, of course, just to give you an example, the other day I took to the winery a wine from 1958 from that region, so quite old. And it was amazing because, of course, you when you have a wine that old, you can either put it away or you have this amazing experience. And the thing is that the color was still really dark, and the taste of the wine was still very good. So, and everyone was tasting at the winery. My colleagues that work there, and everyone was thinking, how is this possible to taste a wine with from 1958 and still like this? So that's the cool thing about the region and about Portuguese wine, is that you can age them. I'm not saying that you should keep them in your cellar for 50 years, but you can keep them for 10 and still perfect.
This can easily go for 10 years. And the power of the wisdom tree in terms of the Fonte Douro, just to keep in the competition about between 4 and 5, the power of the wisdom tree, that it already has this layer of old oakiness, barnyard, especially in the aftertaste. Maybe the views have the same thing.
The aftertaste, of course, and that's exactly the taste. And the thing is that's why for this wine we only want to use old barrels. We don't want to extract the oakiness out of it. We want to extract some other things, and that's why we use old barrels, and that's why you have all these different layers when you taste the wine, and this aftertaste and this long finish. For me, that's one of the most amazing things of this wine, is that you drink it, you keep talking for 5 minutes, and you can still feel the wine. You have all these flavors in your mouth still. So
it even has, like, in the aftertaste, a bit of whiskey, Calvados kind of oakiness. So the old integrated really well.
You don't the aftertaste after a while is not, you don't get the fruit character. You get that oakiness and smokiness. A
really good wine. If people have comments about the wine, just leave them in the live chat, because we are eager to hear anything you think. In my opinion, a wine that gives just that bit extra that you want from a red wine in a very well priced. So please, remain. Let a little bit of this wine keep in one of the glasses, and if you have 3 glasses at home, that will be wonderful, because you can pour like a little bit of Fonte Douro, Tinto, wisdom tree, and then we go on to the next wine, and it's the Fonte d'Oro Reserva. It's not the highest wine in this range, because you have some wines that are a little bit above this Reserva, but in my opinion, it's already like a really piece of wine. It's a chunk of wood. It's something you really can enjoy with a lot of different dishes. So if we can proceed, and if people still have.
So this is, I'm not sure if you can see the varieties.
Yeah.
So it's Touriga Nacional, Alfrocheiro, Jayan, and Tinta Roriz, which is actually the 4 red varieties that we have at Fonte d'Oro estate. And for the Reserva, it's the only wine that we use all the 4 varieties. We don't use them in the same percentage every year. So if one year we think the best blend is the 50% Touriga Nacional, and the next year the best blend is 20% Touriga Nacional, I'm just giving numbers. I'm not saying it's the, we will do it. We make the blend with 4 varieties, but in whatever percentage we think it's better for that specific year. It's a personal favorite, to be honest. I always say this when I'm showing this wine. I think the price quality on this wine, it's amazing. Like all the other red wines, we do the vinification separately. But for this wine, we use a different type of tank. Again, a stainless steel tank with controlled temperature, but we do a long fermentation with a gentle maceration, skin contact. Yeah. So you get, it stays for all this time, getting all these different components, all these different layers already when it's transforming juice into red wine. Yeah. So that's why after that, and after the aging process, you have this amazing wine. And this wine goes into barrels for 9 months. And here, with this wine, we want to keep it for a longer time because it has all this structure to stay there for a longer time. And after that, we pretty much do the same. We blend it, we bottle it, but then, like I didn't say about Wisdom Tree, but after the Fonte d'Oro red, usually or mostly all of the wines after that in range, we keep them in bottle before we putting the bottles on the market. So to give you an example, Reserva stays after bottling 1 year in our cellar, then we put it on the market. For last year, it was sold out for 6 months.
Yeah. I know.
And we didn't, you know, and we didn't release it because we were tasting the wine every other month or every other week. And we were like, okay, all of our customers were calling us, hey, I need the Reserva. No, it's still not good enough.
Yeah. Sorry, I was one of that customers.
Yeah, but that's a good thing. But this wine, it improves after bottling a lot. So that's why we keep them in our cellar and then we release them. And this is a wine that can age for, I'm not saying forever, but for a very, very long time.
It has the potential because in the nose, maybe people have the same feeling about that, but in the nose it has, for me, typical Douro flavors also. It's
because like I was saying, we have this long fermentation, smooth maceration, so you get this ripe fruit character, yeah, like port wine, like port, really dark fruit, cassis or black currant. So you have this almost like a I can understand that because I'm a huge port fan. So you get almost this port character or port smell character because of that ripeness. And but when you taste it, it's a wine. Like I was saying, you get all these layers during the vinification process, and you get all these things into this wine. But when the amazing thing for me, and that's why I like this wine so much, it's when you taste it, it's so smooth and gentle, even though all the components are there. You have this amazing structure, the tannins are there, the acidity is there, but you still have this red fruit, this black fruit on your palate. It has a really long finish, but the smoothness on this wine, it's incredible.
Yeah, yeah. I couldn't say better. It's like, and maybe some people have that the same. It's like, for me, it's a lot of port, but I can imagine that some people in the nose would think like a bit of Amarone or Ripasso. It has a little bit of the same.
It's that ripeness of the fruit and then the vinification process. And I mean, it's 13% alcohol. So the Encruzada, the white wine, has more alcohol than this wine. So that's why it makes it so well balanced. And you have this, I mean, this wine, I think the main thing about this wine is the balance in between nose, the palate, the aftertaste, and the smoothness. I don't think you get the oak character or the idea for us, even though we put most of our wines into oak barrels. I think you never get the barrel never overpowers the wine.
No.
It's always really well balanced.
Yeah.
And of course, a winemaker can do whatever he wants, but for me, that's the idea when you use oak barrels, is to make it well balanced. Otherwise, you are tasting wood, and that's it.
Yeah.
And we want to keep we want you to taste the wines, the region, the varieties. Otherwise, you are just tasting a wine like every other wine. And,
it needs to have character, you know. It needs to have, it needs to be a story. A good wine needs to be a story, and the story is not only the flavors.
And I think you have, of course, you have good wines and bad wines all over the world, of course. But I think in Portugal we are a very small country, but we have all. You see, we are a small country, but we have all these different regions for wine. And for example, the Douro Valley is this region right here, small, but Alentejo, it's all these regions. So we are a small country with a lot of regions, a lot of different varieties, and we need to make Portuguese wines. That's it.
Yeah.
Of course, we can have great varieties from all over the world, and I hope other countries get Portuguese varieties. But the idea is to make honest and wines that represent the region. That's my idea of winemaking.
Yeah, but still, do you really think that in France they will manage to get a Tourique National with the flavors of the Dow and the Douro?
No, probably not, because you have different.
They can try.
Yeah, no, it's like having a Chardonnay in Champagne or having a Chardonnay in Bairrada in Portugal.
Yeah.
You have the same variety, but different location, different type of soil, different type of weather. So, but that's the interesting thing about making wine. You can make, even in Portugal, if you have a Touriga Nacional in the Douro Valley, or you have a Touriga Nacional in Alentejo, the south of Portugal, they are completely different.
Yeah. We will taste like, because in a few weeks time we have Saul from Templarios here with us. And
also a good friend that I've met at the WijnHALL.
Yeah, for sure. And he has like, they have a 100% Tourico Nacional with a total different profile from the wisdom tree.
Yeah. It's not about who's better, you know, it's they are just different.
Yeah,
that's it. So
and then you have the Tourico Nacional from Quinta do Cardo, and it's completely different.
Completely, yeah. The winery that I used to work, they also have Tourico Nacional, also completely different from this Tourico Nacional. And it's not that, it's quite far, but at the same time not that far, and they are two completely, if you put them, if you give them to someone to taste at the same time, they will say it's a different variety, even though it's the same.
So I have some a lot of people, a lot of viewers. They like the wines, and they like the way we presented the wines and ending.
I hope so. So otherwise, I'll be fired Monday.
Yeah. No, maybe Friday. They give you a week. Friday. Amigo will give you a week.
Yeah.
And also just to give some information about. In the shop in Woerden, we also sell wines from Gambia. So that's a wine region also from wine. It's from a totally different wine region. It's Setúbal, also from Boas Quintas. And we are importing some other wines from Boas Quintas as well. We have some port wine from Boas Quintas, so Crawford. So maybe we can do another tasting with other wines from Boas Quintas. It's possible if people like it, and you know, we're open to give more tastings again with Pedro.
We can make a tasting of Gambia and ports, because I'm a huge port fan, and that will be a good way to bring some bottles of port and open them.
Yeah,
no, because we have an estate in Setúbal. I'm just showing the map because I think it's easier for someone that doesn't know the country. So we are here down where we make all these wines, and then Setúbal, it's here, south of Lisbon and close to the ocean, and sandy soils. So it's a completely different profile of wines. Even though we have some common varieties, not all of them, but we have common varieties, but totally different.
Yeah.
And it's also a very interesting region to make wine, of course for us, because we have the opportunity to work with the wines from regions, and there are different varieties that are different. So if you want,
so people, if they want to other wines that we have, but we have a red Gambia in the shop right now, and there will be a white coming up soon. Yeah. So I waited a little bit of ordering wines from Boas Quintas also before the tasting, because I wanted people to taste the wines and see the profile that they really like. People can, I already named some prices in the live chat. If you want to order some wines, you're completely free to order or not. You can order today, and then it's with the 10% discount. And I think that you, Pedro, you have something we can give people if they buy 6 bottles of wine. We can give you something from the winery as well. So
I can give you, for example, this that I open the bottles.
Corkscrew, always handy, always handy.
Always handy, yeah, of course. If you like wine, you need to have one of these.
Definitely, and they disappear under your eyes. Corkscrews, I don't know, disappear always.
We have a lot of them at the winery, and if you order, you can have. So
let's make that deal.
It's handy, and it's also a good souvenir from us in Portugal, and in a way, thanking you and your customers for enjoying our wines and tasting it and drinking our wines.
Good. I will, if people have questions for Pedro, just leave them in the chat. I can still ask it.
Yeah, I hope you have some questions. Otherwise, I'll just talk.
I don't know, but
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing if you don't have questions. So
that's it. I think we managed to get really get a close look into the winery Boas Quintas and about the wines, give good solid information about the wine.
Yeah. And maybe we have a new opportunity to talk a little bit more and show some different wines. So it will be a pleasure for us.
We hope to get a WijnHALL in the autumn, maybe beginning of winter, when it's possible to get the guys here over, physical, tasting the wines together, celebrating life, tasting wines, and I hope that will be possible.
Yeah, I hope so. It's always a pleasure to when you invite us to go to Worden.
Yeah.
So I already know my way in towns. So
it's always nice to have a lot of winemakers there.
Yeah,
so I do a short piece in Dutch. People still have questions, just leave a comment, and then afterwards we can maybe close the tasting.
Okay.
Mensen, nou ja, sowieso hartstikke leuk dat jullie weer of voor de eerste keer meegedaan hebben aan deze online wijnproeverij. We proberen op deze manier toch de wijnen van kleine wijnboeren toch tot jullie te brengen. Op een leuke manier. Nogmaals, je bent tot niks verplicht. Het afnemen van een proefpakket is voor ons al echt hartstikke leuk om kennis te maken. Je kan vandaag wijnen bestellen via de webshop. Er staat een kortingscode met 10% korting op de wijnhal.nl. Dus je kan nu naar de wijnhal.nl, naar de proeverij. En als je dus bestelt, sommige wijnen duren wat langer voordat die hier in Nederland zijn. Bijvoorbeeld die Engrosado, de tweede witte, die is helemaal uitverkocht. Maar die ga ik dus nu bestellen en die hebben we met een week, 1,5 week maximaal binnen. En dan krijgen jullie van Pedro een mooie keukentrekker, wat inderdaad niet een wegwerp dingetje is, maar echt goede kwaliteit. En nog wat andere leuke dingen, dus we hopen jullie daar wat leuks mee te kunnen bieden. Daarnaast hebben we dus meer wijnen van Boas Quintas. En nogmaals, als jullie het leuk vinden om Pedro nog een keer te zien, of nog een keer een soortgelijke wijnproeverij te hebben, wij zijn er en we hebben er super veel zin in om meer van dit proeverij te geven. Vind je het leuk? Geef een geel en we gaan dat gewoon in orde maken. Ik ga nog even kijken wat de eventuele vragen of zo zijn. No, Pedro, people are just thanking you for the tasting. And they are very enthusiastic and interested in the other wines from Boas Quintas. So let's see if we maybe can do in the future, within a few weeks or a few months or stuff like that, do another tasting with the wines from Gambia and Port or Bucelas or Bairrada, the region that you're from. Maybe maybe we can do some other tastings.
Yeah, sure. It'll be a pleasure. You know, it's always good to talk to you and to show you our wines and our winery, our story, and
good.
It will be a pleasure to be a part of it. So whenever you want, and I want to thank everyone, even though I didn't see anyone. I want to thank them all, and I really hope you enjoyed, and most of all, not enjoyed hearing me talking, but enjoyed our wines. And
I think they did both, or at least I
hope so.
So next week we have Thibaut from.
I'll be watching. I'll be watching.
So I think you'll be watching. You'll definitely be watching, because those two guys, they met before, and it's a great team. Maybe we can do one time like a Zoom meeting with the three of us.
Yeah, sure.
I think that will be fun. So Pedro, thank you very much for this tasting. I hope you can tune in later on. We will definitely keep in touch. Cheers, and hope we see each other next time.
Remmer, thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye. Ciao.